That's why this is all about a lot more than just Detroit. It's about saving the U.S. economy from a catastrophic collapse.
A month later, President Bush gives billions of dollars to General Motors and Chrysler. The money comes from the bailout package that was really only designed to save the financial industry.
Now some U.S. auto executives say that their companies are nearing collapse, and that the only way they can buy time to restructure is with help from the federal government.
Megan McArdle is a financial analyst for The Atlantic and has written extensively about the problems of the U.S. auto industry.
Congress wanted an excuse to bail out the auto workers, and the executives gave them just enough political cover to say, well, I'm not really doing this because I want auto worker votes and I'm going to give them a huge amount of money. I'm really doing this for the American economy. But if you look at how much money we gave them, I mean, you're talking about almost $100 billion is how much we will end up spending on this. You know, even if you were saving millions of jobs, it would have been cheaper to give every single one of those people $100,000 to go out and, find a new job.
The big guys on Wall Street, they can't take their losses. They're crybaby capitalists. Oh, they preach capitalism for everybody but themselves.
The Federal Reserve has cut its key interest rate to the lowest level on record. Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke and his colleagues also pledged to use all available tools to contain the widening crisis and the longest recession in a quarter century.
December 16th, 2008. It is time again to pour alcohol into the punch bowl. The Federal Reserve reduces interest rates to practically zero to restore investor confidence. Other central banks do the same.
Hey, have no credit? Don't worry about it. Just sign on a dotted line. Insert Dorian.
The housing bubble that they inflated blew up with all the carnage and all the bankruptcies. And now what is their solution? Well, gee, let's do the same thing we did before. Instead of having interest rates at 1%, let's have them at 0%. And let's buy everything we can. Let's print money and buy mortgages. Let's buy credit card debt, student loans. Let's buy bonds and let's drop money from helicopters to try to get the same risk-taking, excessive gambling on Wall Street. Let's try to convince Americans who are already loaded up on debt to go out and buy more stuff, to go out and go deeper into debt. And if the banks don't want to lend them money, let's make them lend them money. I mean, this is economic, suicide.
While the Fed lowers interest rates, President-elect Barack Obama prepares an enormous stimulus package meant to get the U.S. economy going.
We are running out of the traditional ammunition that's used in a recession, which is to lower interest rates. They're getting to be about as low as they can go. The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act that I will sign today, a plan that meets the principles I laid out in January, is the most sweeping economic recovery package in our history.
On February 7th, 2009, Obama approves a stimulus package worth $787 billion. With the Bush stimulus package from the year before, U.S. politicians have now spent close to $1 trillion to stimulate the U.S. economy. The money is spent on roads, airports, education, unemployment, and other benefits.
There's a bureaucracy in everywhere. And, in Italy, they used to say where I'm from, when you have a jar of honey, you lick your fingers.
The town of Union is located a few hours from the Canadian border. This is where the computer company IBM got its start and grew to be the biggest in the world. The factories are now empty, but the town has acquired a small town rhythm. So there was surprise when $600,000 from the stimulus package arrived to combat homelessness.
On occasion, our police officers may run across someone and they try to, take the person to an area where the individual can get some shelter and get something to eat. But it's not a problem here.
This This is Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, probably the world's most famous upscale shopping district. It was here, for example, that Julia Roberts went shopping in Pretty Woman. Stimulus money has made its way here as well. These streets are to be repaved to the tune of $1 million. Sure, there are potholes in the asphalt. But is this really the economy that needs to be stimulated?
We had a $787 billion stimulus bill, but only about 1/3 of it was truly stimulus. By that I mean timely, targeted, and temporary. The other 2/3 were things that people wanted to do, had been wanting to do for a long time, but they didn't want to have to pay for it. They wanted to do it as part of emergency legislation and charge it to the national credit card.
The Johnstown, Pennsylvania airport has 3 scheduled flights a day. Other than that, it's quite empty.
When you have the flights coming, that's when the people are here.
Right.
Other than that, it's empty.
But one face is everywhere. Congressman John Murtha, the airport's namesake. He's been called the king of pork and has gotten $200 million from Murtha Airport from Washington. Earlier this year, the airport got a new source of revenue, $800,000 from the stimulus package to repave this backup landing strip. The head of the airport insists that the landing strip is safe. So why does it need doing if it's not a safety issue?
Because of the steps we've taken, this plant is about to shift into high gear.
One of the biggest stimulus programs was aimed at the auto industry, cash for clunkers. Turn in your old car and get cash toward a new one from the government. It was so popular that its $1 billion budget ran out in a week, so more money was quickly injected. Many countries offered similar programs. Germany had the biggest one and handed out almost $7 billion to those who scrapped any car more than 9 years old while buying a new one.
Our government seemed to think that German auto industry is so important, we have to support it in some ways, and therefore they created this bonus. They didn't call it a scrapping bonus because I think they knew just how ridiculous that was, so they called it an environment bonus.
Karen Horn is a doctor of economics at the German Economics Institute.
And of course, people took advantage of that. It worked as long as it was on. The program worked, but now it's out. It's over. And of course, numbers are dropping. People are feeling that they ran into additional debt due to that bonus that they wanted to take advantage of. And they're having problems they didn't anticipate.
So Germany spent almost $7 billion to scrap fully functioning cars and to maintain excessive auto factory output. Once the program ended, the industry was right back in the doldrums.
I was just very surprised that people would accept the idea so readily. That they would accept the money is something else. Who wouldn't? But that they would find this a solution that they deemed viable. It doesn't give me a very good impression of the rationality of the voter and taxpayer, I must say.
And that's where we are. I think at this point, the problem is now so big that government stimulus is not going to, buy us another 5 or 6 years of phony growth like it did last time. Because we have to accumulate so much more debt now. Because the bigger the problem gets, the more we have to stimulate to get that short-term boost. But now the bigger the bust, because now we have a bigger stimulus, to get out of the economy.
About a year after the worst economic crisis in modern history, Lehman Brothers is gone. But apart from that, Wall Street looks much the same. Many banks are reporting record profits. The world's stock markets have skyrocketed. The market is finally breathing a sigh of relief. But isn't it somewhat uncomfortable? Haven't we been here before? All the measures that we have taken to save the economy, the low interest rates, the massive debt, the safety net for the financial industry, these are the very things that led us into a crisis in the first place. We've been saved from the consequences of one burst bubble by inflating 100 new ones all over the world.
All right, Shalom. First, I'd like to start by saying all praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. Now, as you can see, all this was breaking down was, how the U.S. economy keeps pouring money into an economy that's already too far in debt, which is making the economy worse, man. And it's an ongoing cycle until the dollar ultimately collapse. So I'm going to read this little passage up in this book, Satan Angels Exposed, by Salem Kerben. It says, we are bankrupt. We may already be living in the age of Antichrist. He may already be alive on earth. And we know that the Antichrist is really those who are anti-Yahushai, those who are against his word, not just the elites that run America. It says, it is my opinion that the United States has become bankrupt. It is coming bankrupt financially, and that's what this is showing. It is becoming the stimulus packages and bailouts, and they changed the name to QE1s, 2, 3, 4, and unlimited, and then they have another name for it also. I'll have to look it up again, but yeah, that's not helping America.